I come to US for events and stuff. Recently, I started living here as well in Sedona because my husband is from LA. But I keep going back and forth. Tonight, I'm going back home to Pakistan to my 10 siblings. But one of the times in 2012, a few years ago, I came here for a conference. And something really extraordinary happened. It was very unexpected. I had no idea it was going to be this big in my life. And it didn't happen inside the conference. It was actually outside on the roadside, close to a burger bar in Phoenix. Another attendee in the conference and me, we were going out for a walk, and we walked and walked until we realized we were lost. And so we were like, let's ask someone for directions. I have no idea what Google Maps are by that time. And we waited because it was in the evening and there were less people. We waited, and after some time, two girls my age were coming through the road on the sidewalk, and they were jogging with headphones in their ears. And I was like, wait, I need to ask you something. And so they stopped and asked for directions. I asked them the hotel's information, which way it is. And the next thing I know, I'm not even listening to her. I'm like in an awe of her. I'm so surprised of what came next. I saw so much strength in her confidence, I have put the words in here because I can't describe it, her power, her femininity, and everything that we strive for women in Pakistan, it was right there. She was, even if she was giving me the directions, she was just shining all of that confidence through her. And that day, that moment, I finally understood one thing very important, that any kind of training, any kind of courses, crash courses, continuous validation to women to be strong, or for them to tell them to be strong, that's not important. For them to be the strong leader, they only have to be their truest selves. They only have to be the person that they are within them. And that is when they truly shine. And I saw that in that girl because she was shamelessly herself. And that is when we see women shine. That kind of realization had come to me before in 2009 when I started my fight against honor killings as an activist to fight policies, because the first thing we find is like, let's make the government do this. It's a really big issue. But turns out after a couple years of working on the ground and even with the policymakers, coming out on the streets, doing protests and stuff to change the policies and give more protection to women, none of that worked, so we failed. The campaign I was running at that time called Wake Up Campaign Against Honor Killing, it didn't work. And that time we were like, what can we do? What is it that's not helping? Because many, many people are working to fight honor killings for decades. So we started finding out, and turns out we found 3 reasons because of which honor killings still exist and other customs like that. The biggest reason is policies in our country are really not strong. Policies even are more towards the person who murders rather than the woman. Fine, we tried that, it didn't work. So, and I should say why it didn't work, because policies usually are very far away from tribal areas, from the villages. People who live inside villages, they don't care what policies run. They have their own tribal leaders to tell them what to do next. So they had no idea. The next reason was men think that women are their property. And that was also a really big thing. We already knew that in some ways. So we started working on that. But the third thing was very, very surprising, something like what I experienced with these 2 girls in Phoenix in 2012. And the third reason was that women actually accept it. Women accept this kind of injustice towards themselves. They say yes to it willingly, unwillingly, subconsciously, traditionally, like it's part of them. It's part of them to be modest and to look down and say yes to everything that comes to them. And so that day in 2012, outside in Phoenix, I connected the 2 things. The first, women accepting everything on them. The second, women being themselves and letting out the light that they have within themselves. And it became one thing. It was like a puzzle. And For a moment, I realized I've actually found the biggest secret in the whole world. It's huge. Every day, we are really trying to help women in many, many ways. And here I was on the roadside, discovered that women just have to be themselves. They just have to let their inner selves shine. And that is when they're able to do big things. Let me move this. So that was our solution. And basically what we discovered in 2009 was about women leading to accepting everything. We started working with these women, and we said that we would have to create something that involves these women and unleashes potential in them. That was reminded to me at that time by Michelangelo's quote that Michelangelo was asked, how do you carve these beautiful angels from these stones? And he's like, I look at the stone and I see the angel in it. I just carve until it gets free. And that was what that evening I had discovered. Women are all women, even outside of Pakistan, are in a stone and they don't even know it. They need someone to carve that barrier away from them, to let them see how beautiful they are, that they are the angel who has all the power to do everything they can. Like Leslie introduced and talked about sugar, we started creating sugar centers. And this time we went back to the tribal leaders from where backlash had came. So we said, we apologize for what we did. We are going to start working with you to guide us. How can we promote your culture? Because we were against the culture. And honor killing is a custom. It's not religious. It's not something else. It's custom, and which has become part of the brains of people over there. So we said that how do we promote culture? At that time, we started making centers in different villages. And so engaging all these women, using their skills of embroidery to raise income for them. And so the moment these women started receiving income, they started feeling their levels getting higher and higher, and started feeling the confidence within them. And the moment any woman has confidence, she knows that she can do so much more. This is my first time I have written my speech. I'm sorry. I was telling someone this would be written in the history books because I never write my speeches. I just forget some points, and looking at all these young women today, I don't want to forget some points. I want you to take away something with you. And coming to a conference is a lot of time, a lot of energy. You must take away something with you and do something about it. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about that one very important thing. Is how do we unleash the woman inside ourselves? How? As women, we tend to look outside of ourselves for inspiration, for validation, and for confirmation of our own abilities. Because we have been told that empowerment is something we have to give someone. Haven't we? It's like something we always hear, giving empowerment to women. Even I use that sometimes. It's not right. You cannot give someone empowerment. They have to dig it inside themselves. And making leadership an external and far away thing. We talk about women leadership, it's as if it's a distant goal, as if some future holds that power. Every day we are trying to empower women, inspire women, build their capacity, educate them, give them awareness, protect them under the law, and defend them as their advocates. But the only thing that they need is a little confidence and some education. For women in Pakistan, that confidence comes with independence, and independence comes with income, and income comes with giving them opportunities to use their skills at a larger scale, the way sugar. And now another company my husband and I have launched called the Chai Spot. We create a room through which we ask people to go where women have made products and stuff, but it's a room that reflects Pakistani culture. Because of how much discussion there is about the fear towards Pakistanis in Pakistan, we decided to do this. My husband left his job to work on this with me. And as a bride, when I came last year, I saw fear in people's eyes, and it has been helping a lot. And through Chai Spot, we've also been able to sell products that these women make. And women, when we sell one product, so for example, we gave someone $30 recently, and she made a shop in her village. I'm like, what? And we gave someone $150. And I was like, what are you going to do? This is a woman in Umarkot district of Pakistan. Umarkot connects with the border of India. So they are Hindu minorities who didn't move when India and Pakistan were separating. And there are minority groups living there. So I was like, what are you going to do with this money? Because we encourage them to create their ideas. However, we always want them to create income from the income we give them. Otherwise, it will just immediately vanish. She was like, see, do you see around everyone wears bangles? Bangles are a sign of married woman. If they are married, they have to wear bangles. She's like, I'm going to create a bangle business. I'm like, what? That's amazing. In a village, this woman sees her opportunity, sees the market, and she did that, and she's very successful. But amazingly, I want to tell you, what did we do the first time we discovered women were the true women were the people who were allowing all of this to happen on them. I mean, it's a big accusation, but there are some things that are true. I understand in Western culture it might be different, but I have heard my mother, we would go in public buses from Balochistan to Karachi, where I got my education. Karachi is a big city. And my mother would always be like, hide your face. And I'm like, Mom, why me? Why isn't he hiding his face? She's like, see, as women, we are supposed to do these things. And I'm like, what? And I remember an incident where my aunt was showing scars on her face to grandmother, and she was like, what happened? And my aunt said that my husband has beaten me. And my grandmother responded, I was 9 years old, saying that you have to feed him, take care of him. And these were the things that ensured that women have been accepting all of this upon them. But how do we talk to them about it was very important. So we went to these villages and we said, so you're all Muslim? And they were like, yes, we are believers of Islam. We believe in Allah. And we are like, how can you claim that when you don't do what Muhammad, peace be upon him, has suggested? And they get shocked. This is a really big shock to give to people. And we say that Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that men and women should be shoulder to shoulder. It's very easy for women in the villages to show them anything. You have to make graphs or use pebbles and stuff. And we say, this is where you are. This is your husband, and this is you, but you are here. You have to come here to be able to be shoulder to shoulder with your husband and to accept Islam, to be a Muslim. And they're like, oh my God. So in the 6 months course cycle that we give them to be great entrepreneurs, to use their skills and to be aware about their rights, and to be that leader who fights and defends herself against these customs, we ask her, where are you now? And it's amazing. Within 2 months or 3 months, they're like, oh my God, I'm coming here. Some woman is like, can I be a little higher? I'm like, no. So to see that kind of difference in them, to see that they haven't even earned income, they haven't even, their training is not even complete. They're still in the process of that whole training, but they're already feeling that their graph is changing. They are coming closer because they see what rights they hold. But then again, this whole thing was very successful there, and I came to US for another conference, and I was super confused. I saw that in US, women have income, drive cars, make decisions, and they're free in every way, but they're still here. It was really interesting for me to discover this because I was like, what is going on? I mean, after all of this, you should be even a little higher. But no, that is not a good thing. Balance is very important for the society. But then I discovered, it didn't take me long to find out what's happening. The graph is different in the US. The graph is actually very, very different. Instead of being shoulder to shoulder with men, women want to be the men. And that was very, very interesting for me to hear. It wasn't very quick to understand, quick to come to me, but when I started speaking in colleges and universities, girls would talk about being leaders and someday reaching a position of their, dreams. Despite of the fact that they were making leadership and their passion a faraway distance from themselves, they were describing leadership in a very masculine way. And that is where I found out. Because leadership has always been defined muscly, sweaty, and dirty. Nobody talks about leadership in high heels, in chiffon dresses, and rose-scented perfumes in our hair. No one mentions that when a man becomes strong, people in his closest circle get impacted, get the benefit of it. But when a woman is strengthened, she touches the lives of those even she hasn't met. It's always, always true. With her grace, beauty, and wisdom, she empowers her family, her whole society, and generations to come. I also want to share that in Islam, we have a word for the both genders. When a boy is born, it's called a rahmat. It's called a nemat, which means a gift. But when a girl is born, it's called a rahmat, which means a blessing. Women has been given the word that is used for rain. Why? Because when rain comes pouring down on the earth, it makes the whole earth joyful with its innumerable gifts. It strengthens the plants, the mighty trees, and gives happy waterfalls to huge mountains. And when a daughter is born, God assures the family that the whole world is going to be touched by her. Her inner beauty, her strength, and her grace, and waterfalls of joy would run through the family. But sadly, that daughter grows up and she forgets that. And she wants to be something different. And I want to ask, how can we forget that we have so many gifts? How can we be something else and give up on all these things that we have within ourselves? Growing up, I also had another belief that it was a privilege to be born as a boy, because I saw men eat before us in our houses, in my friends' houses. The boys would go to school, girls won't. Men would discuss something really important. Women would not be a part of it. All of these, I thought, what a blessing it was to be born as a boy. But soon as I grew up, I discovered that it was actually the opposite. As women, we are openly able to be vulnerable, to shed tears, to follow our heart, to talk about intuition, to let the light of the world touch us without harming our inner beauty. Women, if choose not to bend to peer pressure, are not laughed at or called weak. But men, I have seen men who murder their own daughters in the name of honor, submitting to peer pressure. Men who would give anything to cry, to be vulnerable, to let their hearts guide them. What a privilege it is to be born as a woman, to be biologically ready to accept the world's harshest things, to be prepared for creating another human being. I mean, that's really awesome. To be a mother who is a treasure to their child, a daughter who is the pride of their parents, a sister who is the joy of the family, and a wife who is the strength of her husband. Today, I have a request to all of you. My first request was take away something with yourself, but my second request is to accept this privilege. And do not listen to people define leadership as a masculine thing. I urge you to embrace and unleash the women in yourself and then celebrate it. Go wear some bangles or jewelry. Seriously, your high heels. Let your inner beauty shine and make decisions that are a true reflection of your own self. Cry when you want. Let yourself be vulnerable. Love pink. Dance at little things. And be excited to eat ice cream. And when you are full of joy and celebrating with laughter and love, then step forward to do extraordinary things in the world, because that's when everything you touch would turn to gold. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm really honored. Thank you. Thank you very much.